Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over my Week 18 NFL Power Rankings, or my Wildcard Weekend NFL Power Rankings. I do this series on the channel each and every week, and ever since Week 2, and it's one of the most popular series on the channels, and I really enjoy making these videos. I'm sorry to everyone who watches the channel that is subscribed for my upload schedule this week. I had been uploading 6 to 7 videos a week for a few weeks now, and this week I just was not feeling it. So I also didn't have a whole lot of ideas for content, so I just kind of slacked off a little bit. But this week I have a lot of ideas for coming up for the playoffs, and I'm really excited for this week. I will hopefully post 6 or 7 times, and I will be doing a live stream event on the first weekend of the playoffs, and probably some of the later weekends of the playoffs too, but this week I'm definitely doing a live stream event. I'm not sure which game it will be yet, but I'm definitely doing one of those games. That being said, only 14% of you are subscribed, so if you want to see more content like this, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. So with that, let's get right into the video. So for this video, I'm not going to be doing my normal power rankings. It's not going to be all 32 teams. I'm just ranking the playoff teams. So I'm starting with the Washington football team in the NFC East, and then I'm working my way up through all of the other playoff teams in the league, and that is how this power rankings is going to go. So this category is the NFC East, because I predetermined whoever the NFC East victor would be in this category. Now, as for Washington, I have to admit they're much stronger with Alex Smith. Alex Smith on the Washington football team with their very strong defense does very well. And I believe he only has 1 loss this year. That being said, he hasn't had a very tough schedule to deal with. A lot of his games have been divisional games, and he did beat the Steelers, but that was during the Steelers. That also sparked the Steelers' losing streak. So I wouldn't say that they beat the Steelers at their best. I think that Washington is a very interesting wild card team. They're not a wild card team, but they are very much a wild card. You have no idea where you're going to get from this team this year. And it'll be interesting to see how they perform in the playoffs. Now, I know that they're only 1 game behind the Bears, and Alex Smith is a very strong quarterback, but I kind of put them here for the memes. I mean, come on. It's the Washington football team in the NFC East, NFC least. I mean, I'm not going to put them with other playoff teams. I mean, come on, they're the NFC least. So, yeah. Washington is number 14 in terms of talent for the playoff teams this season. They do have potential, but I just can't see this team making the Super Bowl. I just can't. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just don't see it. Okay, so moving on from the NFC East, we have the inconsistent wild cards. In this category, we have the Bears, the Rams, the Colts, and the Browns. So the Bears are 8-8. The Rams are 9-7 or 10-6. The Colts and Browns are both 11-5. Out of these teams, the Bears are the most confusing team here. They were 5-1 with Mitch Trubisky, then they started playing Nick Foles. They quickly dropped to 6-8 or 5-8 or something of that sort, and they're now 8-8, and they are in the playoffs. So the Bears are a very confusing team. Mitch Trubisky's been playing a very good season this year. Mitch Trubisky has won a lot of games, and with their defense, they have potential. But they're just an uncertain team, and I don't really know enough about them. And I think that they're not as strong as the other playoff teams this year. At number 12, we have the Rams. The Rams are a very strong team, but they've had some interesting games. They lost to the Seahawks last week, only scoring 9 points. And the week before that, they lost to the Jets, one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Rams have had some phenomenal games, but they've also had some terrible games. And they're just too up and down for me to put them any higher than number 12. They're better than the Bears because they have a stronger offense and a more consistent offense than the Bears do. But I just can't put them any higher than 12. At 11, we have the Colts. The Colts have, again, the common theme in this category is inconsistency. The Colts have lost to the Browns, but they split with the Titans. They beat another very good team. They lost to the Steelers last week after having a 3-touchdown lead. They're just a very inconsistent team, and they beat the Packers. That was the good team that they beat. they surprise me every week. Their defense started off very strong, then it got weaker, now it got stronger again. Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback, but he's never had a very strong playoff run ever in his career. He is an inconsistent quarterback. He'll have very strong seasons and very bad seasons. Their offense is good and their defense is good, but neither of them are fantastic. And I think that this mediocrity is what gives them very up and down games. I think they do have potential in the playoff race, but I don't see them making it to the AFC Championship game. As for the Browns, I don't see them making it to the AFC Championship game either, simply because they've had some injuries, they've had some COVID-related stuff. They lost a game last week to the Jets because they had 3 wide receivers out for COVID protocols. They beat the Steelers this week, but they've also lost to the Ravens twice. They beat the Titans, but they split with the Steelers. They're all inconsistent teams. The Browns are the best of these inconsistent teams. I think that their defense is coming along and their offense is fairly strong. They have the best rushing game in the NFL and one of the better running games in recent history. But it's just, I don't think it would be enough for them to make the AFC Championship game at this point. Moving on, we have the strong wild cards and the Titans. The Titans are, in fact, a division leader at 11-5, but I think that they belong in this category. The Ravens are 11-5, and so are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers and the Ravens, being wild cards, I think are the 2 strongest wild cards in the NFL, and either of them could have been division leaders had they been in different divisions. The Titans have been an up and down team this year, but I think that they are more consistent than some of the previous category teams. They've only lost to strong teams other than the Bengals game, and the only game where their offense didn't perform at all was in the Packers game last week. Their offense is one of the strongest in the NFL, probably the second strongest, only behind the Packers. And Derrick Henry has the potential to just maul anyone that he is put in front of. And I think that wild card could bring them all the way to the Super Bowl or a Super Bowl victory. And the fact that Derrick Henry's on the Titans gives them that extra boost, that extra edge, that extra what's going to happen next for the opponent. The Ravens and the Buccaneers both have very strong aspects. They both have very good offenses, and they both have fairly strong defenses. The Ravens' defense is more accentuated in their team versus the Buccaneers' offense, which is more accentuated. And the Buccaneers' defense is strong, but it's not extremely strong. Same with the Ravens' offense. It's strong, but it's not extremely strong. And the fact that both of these teams have either an offense or a defense that is extremely good, that's what sets them apart from the other wildcard teams. The Ravens' defense has always been a good defense. For the last 20 years, the Ravens have had a strong defense. And the Buccaneers' offense was strong last year without Brady, and now that Brady is not only throwing more touchdowns, but a lot less interceptions than their previous quarterback, Jameis Winston, was doing, the Buccaneers' offense is coming along nicely. And both of these teams have very strong potential. The Buccaneers were very strong at the beginning of the season and had a slow middle and came back in the end. The Ravens had a very strong beginning of the season, fell off a little bit quicker than the Buccaneers did, but had a very strong end to the season. And if we were just counting the last 8 weeks, the Ravens would be one of the top 5 teams. But because they have also had some poor games, they lost twice to the Steelers, I can't put them much higher than number 8, but they do have a very strong team. Moving on to the division leaders, we have the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Saints. This category was a new category created this week, and I think that the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Saints all have a significant increase in talent from the previous 3 teams. The Steelers have arguably the best defense in the NFL, if not the best defense in... They have the best defense of the playoff teams, if not the best defense in the NFL. The Dolphins have arguably the best defense, but the Steelers have had a top 3 defense for the past 2 seasons. Their offense has its ups and downs, and they lost this week simply because they didn't play their starting quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, because they didn't need to win their division. But their offense has had its ups and downs. Its efficiency is poor, but other than that, I think that their defense can help them win these games. At number 5, we have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have been one of the most consistent teams in the NFL this year. They started off with a very powerful offense and a very weak defense. And I think a lot of the reasons why that offense was powerful was because it needed to be powerful. As the season's progressed, the defense has gotten better, and the offensive stats have gone down because the offense hasn't had that same pressure. I think that in the playoffs, once the playoffs come around, or once the Seahawks are getting into it, if they have a game where the offense is pressured to make plays and have a lot of scoring, then they will do that. But if the offense isn't pressured to do so, and the defense has a really good game, then they'll win on defense. I think that the Seahawks are one of those fantastic teams this year that have a powerful offense and a powerful defense. And whichever one they need to win that night is what's going to win it for them. And I think that being said, the Seahawks have a very strong chance of making it to the Super Bowl this year. They're not as strong as the top 3 teams in the league, but they're definitely a solid top 5. And the Saints are at number 4, rounding off the division leaders category. The Saints have one of the strongest defenses and one of the strongest offenses in the NFL. They're top 5 in both categories if you were to rank all of them. And although they have had their ups and downs, the Saints are a very strong team in the NFL. Drew Brees is out for a few weeks, and they lost a couple of games in the mix that they shouldn't have lost. They lost to the Eagles, namely, which was a very, very confusing upset that they lost. And but they have shown some strong games, such as their 2 wins against the Buccaneers, one of them being 38-3. The Saints have a lot of promise for the playoffs, and they are just barely on the border of elite. But I just, being one of the last Power Rankings videos, I couldn't put them in elite because they're just not there yet. Last but not least, we have the NFL's elite. This is the only perennial category in my Power Rankings videos, and we'll round off Week 18 as well. This elite round consists of 3 teams: the Kansas City Chiefs, the Green Bay Packers, and the Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs are the strongest team in the NFL. I don't think that there is definitely an argument for Green Bay to be the strongest team, and I will get to that in a minute, but I have Kansas City as the strongest team in the NFL. Now, a lot of people are going to get mad at me for this, because no matter who I put, if I put Kansas City at 1 or if I put Green Bay at 1, someone's going to yell at me, so I'm just going to choose one. Kansas City is my number 1 right now because they have been the most dominant team this year. They only have 1 loss, and it was an overtime loss to a hot Raiders team. The Raiders have since slowed down, but they were hot at the time. And at the time, the Raiders had a very strong team. That being said, they lost this week to the Chargers, giving them 2 losses. Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing. It was a very bad loss, but Mahomes wasn't playing, and if Mahomes was playing in that game, the Chiefs wouldn't have lost. They arrested their starters because they were guaranteed the 1 spot. And to be in a division with the Bills and to be guaranteed the number 1 spot is very strong. They didn't have an easy schedule, but they didn't have a hard schedule. It was a kind of in the middle schedule, but they dealt with it very nicely. And they had a very good time this year. And I think that Kansas City is the best team in the NFL. At number 2, we have the Green Bay Packers. And although the Packers' defense is stronger than the Chiefs, and their offense is almost as strong, I don't think that the team itself has the same it factor as Kansas City does. I think that the Packers do have a very strong argument for the number 1 spot, and they do have the NFL MVP on their team. I think Aaron Rodgers is the MVP of the league, and will be the MVP of this season. However, when it comes to the playoffs, Rodgers is not the most consistent quarterback. He does have a Super Bowl victory, but a lot of his seasons end in 0-1 or 1-1 years. He's never gone 2-1, and his only other season was a Super Bowl. So I think that Rodgers does have a potential to make the Super Bowl this year. But I think that Kansas City is a stronger team and works better as a team, and if they can get the lead at halftime, they win. And that's a very, very, very good thing going for them. If they have a lead at halftime, they will win that ball game. So that's what gives Kansas City the edge. And in 3rd place, we have the Buffalo Bills. And you could say there is an argument that the Bills are not in this tier, that they're in the division leaders tier. They're not quite elite, but after seeing the last 3 weeks, they've averaged 34 points a game. Actually, it's closer to 40, I think. They're coming along very nicely. They scored 56 points against a Dolphins defense that is possibly the best in the NFL. You don't do that unless you're an elite team. The Bills have become they were a strong team to start off the year, but they've become one of the strongest, if not the strongest team in the NFL by this point in the season. And their defense is starting to come along nicely. Their offense is getting better and better every single week, and Josh Allen is looking like he can't be stopped. The Bills belong in this category. They belong possibly at the number 2 spot. But all 3 of these teams are phenomenal. Any one of these are the best team in the NFL. It's very hard to choose. So I'm not saying any of these teams are better than the others. This is just the order that I've chosen to put them in because I need to have them in an order. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and smash subscribe if you are new to the channel. I will be trying to post more consistently this week because I'm sorry for last week. I just had a very poor upload schedule and I don't want to do that again. That being said, thank you guys again for watching the video, and make sure to check out my stream next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Saturday game or the Sunday game, or which one of the games I'm going to be doing, but whichever one I do, I really hope you guys tune in, and I'm really excited to see it. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out.